The following video is not made for kids. Viewer discretion is advised. Hello to my subscribers, this is the TFangy coming to you with what will hopefully be a successful review. And as the title of the video and the thumbnail have all revealed, we will tonight be taking a look at the entire subline of the Transformers Legacy United line, and it is the Transformers Star Raiders collection. Released exclusively at Walmart stores here in the United States, just like the Velocitron Speed 500 and Toxitron G2 collection. And before, these figures are exclusive to Walmart stores here in the United States. And for people like me who don't have Walmart stores nearby where they live, they've been somewhat difficult to obtain. I was able to get the entire collection off the internet, most off of Walmart's own website before they sold out. Others I got off of another website. But I'm really thrilled that I was finally able to get all these figures. One of them I kind of already reviewed in my collection of the Transformers Infernac Universe Rock Lords, which I'm struggling to reach over to get. I apologize for being not as organized as I hoped I would be. But the one I already looked at was Calcitron, who's one of the figures sold in the Leader Class box set. But starting with the smallest figures that were released, there were 4 Deluxes, 1 Voyager, and a box set of 3 figures that were released as a Leader Class, so technically there's 8 individual Transformers in the Star Raiders collection. So first off, we have the 2 Deluxe Class figures of Road Pig and Filch. Filch is based off of the female Decepticon from the Robots in Disguise 2015 cartoon. She, like all the figures in the Star Raiders figures, they're all repaints and retools of previously released figures. Filch is a repaint and retool of Kingdom Air Razor. I'm really thrilled with how she turned out. So nice artwork of her alt mode. Oh, there you got some artwork on the side of the box as well. And apart from her trying to lead the Decepticons that were on Earth in Robots in Disguise 2015, I don't think Filch has made too much appearance in Transformers media, but it's really nice to have a figure of her, and I believe she might be the newest member of the Star Raiders. So for those of you wondering who are the Star Raiders, they're based off a group of Transformers characters known as the Star Seekers, who appeared in the Transformers comic books, and they were a series of pirates who went around terrorizing people throughout the galaxy. And the Star Seekers were their own faction. Actually, as you can see, it's printed right here in neon outline on the Star Raiders box. It's essentially a mashup of both the Autobot and Decepticon faction symbols with 2 I believe they're supposed to be swords, but they might be slash marks underneath. And it's basically a Transformers version of the famous skull and crossbones that pirate flags are associated with. If so, it's nice to know that these guys are their own faction of Transformers figures. But yeah, there's Filch, and then next up we have Road Pig. Road Pig, it was created during the Transformers Generation 2 line. Back in, I believe, 1994, during one of the last years of the Generation 2 line. Road Pig was part of a group of Transformers known as the Laser Cycles. Just like the Laser Rods, the Laser Cycles had a gimmick where they had batteries in them, and they had lights inside, and when you would push a button that would turn the light on, it would make it look like the right side arm and the weapons that they held would light up and look like they were flowing with energon. So that was a nice touch on. Nice gimmick at the time in Generation 2. And we've technically gotten 3 of the 4 Laser Cycles here in the Legacy line. 2 of them ended up actually getting cancelled back in the day. The only ones that got released were Road Pig and Road Rocket. Road Rocket was given a figure back in the Legacy Year 1 subline in the Velocitron Speed 500. And Road Rocket was originally a male Transformers character, but because Hasbro decided to make Road Rocket mold mates with the Prime RC mold, Road Rocket ended up being turned into a female Transformers character. So a lot of Transformers fans and collectors are wondering if Road Pig might share the same fate, because one of the 2 canceled Laser Cycles, which was originally going to be Jazz reimagined as a motorcycle. That figure ended up also being that canceled figure ended up getting updated, also using the Legacy Prime RC mold. Ended up being released as a brand new character named Laser Cycle after the subgroup that the Laser Cycles belong to. So it was a really nice surprise when it was announced that Rogue Pig was going to be still going to be a male Transformers character, and that he was going to be a repaint and a retool of the Legacy Evolution Junkie on Crash Bar. So just like Crash Bar, Rogue Pig can do the weaponizer gimmick. You can dismantle him and turn him into weapons. 3 of the 4 deluxes are weaponizers. Well, technically, if you also count Calcitron, of the 5 deluxes, 4 of them are weaponizers. The only deluxe figure that's not a weaponizer is Filch. So yeah, it's really nice to have a modern-day action figure of Rogue Pig. Apart from the original Generation 2 action figure, this has become only the 2nd action figure of Rogue Pig to exist. So I'm just really thrilled to finally have an action figure of a Generation 2 character that hasn't been given an updated figure since the original All in My Transformers collection. And so yeah, I'm really thrilled that they also decided to make Rogue Pig a retool of Crash Bar. So there's some artwork of Rogue Pig. There's his head sculpt and his robot mode. You got the motorcycle mode here on the front. And it doesn't show it on the artwork, but Rogue Pig, they got all of the Star Raiders. They have the Star Seeker eager symbol printed on them. Rogue Pig's ends up being on the bottom of his foot. I think Filch's, I don't know where hers is, if it's oh yeah, there it is. It's on one of her shins. So yeah, the pirates were originally known as the Star Seekers in the Transformers comic books. I guess Hasbro couldn't get a registered trademark to Star Seekers, so these guys have been renamed the Star Raiders. So it's up to you if you want to call them Star Seekers or Star Raiders. I'm going to refer to them as both indirectly throughout the video. So when I say Star Seeker and Star Raider, I mean the same group of Transformers characters. So flipping the boxes around, I had Filch's box turned around earlier. So here they are some product photos of them. Here is Rogue Pig in his robot mode and his motorcycle mode. He transforms back and forth in 15 steps. Filch transforms back and forth in 21 steps. And yeah, I'm just really thrilled to have all these guys in my Transformers collection. Next up, the other 2 deluxe figures released in the Star Raider subline are the 2, from what I've seen on the internet and on Walmart's own website, these are the 2 figures that are the most hard to find because they're the ones everyone's buying up and collecting, and they are Deluxe Class Cannonball and Deluxe Class Lockdown. So Cannonball is somewhat special in that he wasn't the first of these Star Raider characters who was created. That title belongs to Rogue Pig since he was created back in 1994. But Cannonball was the first of these guys who became a pirate. And Cannonball was originally released back in the Transformers Cybertron line back in 2005, and he was a repaint of Cybertron Red Alert, repainted as a Decepticon. And on that note, I hope Hasbro and Takara do the opposite of what they did in the Cybertron line, and here for the Legacy/Generations line, that I hope they repaint Cannonball into Cybertron Red Alert. I'd love to have a modern Cybertron Red Alert figure since I never got the original one. And I do have a copy of the original Cybertron Cannonball action figure, but don't get yourselves excited because the main reason I bought it is I actually found it at a used toy store. It was missing all the accessory pieces and some of the paint was chipped off, and so I customized it into a deluxe class action figure of Trailbreaker because at the time I wanted a deluxe class figure of Trailbreaker and none existed at the time when I found Cannonball. Also, yeah, he's been given a whole new paint deco. So I won't be bringing that figure out since I customized it into a figure of Trailbreaker, but the point is that Cannonball here, after he was created, because he is given the name Cannonball, Hasbro decided to make him a pirate, and one of the main reasons why they did it is because, and it's here on the Legacy figure as well, just like the original Cybertron figure. If you look here at the box art for Cannonball's face, part of his helmet is painted black, and even though he has a dedicated visor instead of a pair of actual eyeballs, the main reason why a part of Cannonball's helmet is painted black is because it's supposed to mimic a eye patch that pirates are known to have in the movies. And so Hasbro and Takara Tomy, when designing the original Cybertron Cannonball figure, they went all out with the pirate motif. The original figure also had these neon green flaming skulls skulls painted on him. They've kind of reimagined that at here on the new Legacy figure that's been made for Cannonball. Overall, the point I'm trying to make is that Cannonball is also special because he originally was the team captain of the Star Seekers. In the original comic book that he appeared in, Cannonball was possessed by Starscream's ghost, and Starscream controlled Cannonball's body and made it look like he was going insane in front of the other Starseeker pirates, and Starscream helped Flame War become the pirate captain of the Starseekers, and Cannonball, I can't remember if he was ousted or if he was killed in the original comic books, but yeah, that was Cannonball's fate. And so here for the Star Raiders line, I think Cannonball is supposed to be first mate to the new pirate captain, who I'll get to in a moment. So yeah, that's what makes Cannonball special, is all the background information that's on him, and I think that's one of the reasons why out of all the deluxes, he's one of the he's arguably the most hard to find out of all of them. But coming at a very close second hard to find is Lockdown. Now, Lockdown is a repaint and a retool of the Legacy Evolution Decepticon Junkion Axle Grease, who she herself was a retool of Junkion Scraphook. And when Axle Grease was released last year in the Legacy Evolution line, everyone looked at Axle Grease and said, that's going to be Lockdown. So it was pretty obvious that we were going to get Lockdown repainted from Axle Grease. And interestingly enough, unlike the other Star Raiders figures who are modern-day versions of previous exact versions of the characters, what I was trying to say, like Cannonball here is an update of his Cybertron on self, Road Pig's an update of his G2 self, and Filch is an update of her Robots in Disguise 2015 self. But for Lockdown, instead of being an updated version of just one of the past versions of himself, he's actually a mashup of different versions of Lockdown. He's primarily a mashup of both the Transformers animated version of Lockdown, which is the first ever version, and also the Transformers Revenge of the Fallen version of Lockdown, which was released in 2009 as part of the Transformers Revenge of the Fallen line. And the head sculpt, on that note, the head sculpt used here on Lockdown, a lot of Transformers fans and collectors have claimed that it's the exact same head sculpt that was used on the Revenge of the Fallen Lockdown action figure. I do have the Revenge of the Fallen Lockdown, but I don't know where I placed it, so I don't know if the head sculpt is the exact same. I believe it's supposed to be brand new, but it's really close in design to the point that a lot of collectors are convinced that it's the same head sculpt. If it is, then I applaud Hasbro and Takara Tomy for deciding to reassign a head sculpt designed for a deluxe class Transformers figure from 2009 and reusing it in 2024, 15 years later. If it's not, then I also applaud the designers for making two separate head sculpts that are distinct molds, look almost identical. So yeah, the Legacy United Star Raider version of Lockdown here, he's a mashup of both Revenge of the Fallen and animated Lockdown. And one could argue that there's a bit of Cyberverse Lockdown thrown in here just for good measure, but yeah, he's basically a mashup of most of the past versions of Lockdown that we've gotten over the years since he was introduced to the Transformers franchise in 2008. And on that note, Lockdown, he's not necessarily a member of the Star Raiders crew. He kind of, I think he just hung out with them for a while in the comic books, just so he could get transported from one place to another without having to find his own spaceship. But I think Lockdown might be the only character in the, might be the only Star Raiders figure who doesn't actually have the Star Seeker symbol painted on him. If he does, I'll point it out. But yeah, it's pretty amazing that he was included in the Star Raider subline instead of being released at mass retail. Well, I just said amazing. I meant to say it's a crying shame that he was not released at mass retail, but who knows why. What was the decision process that Hasbro and Takara Tomy did with that. But flipping around here to the back of the box, here are the product photos of their robot modes and alt modes. Cannonball transforms back and forth in 14 steps, Lockdown in 17 steps. And I said that the other deluxe class figures were all weaponizers. I apologize. I forgot that Cannonball, he's actually not a weaponizer, so I apologize for getting that wrong. I'm just really excited to finally get around to reviewing these figures. My mind is moving faster than my mouth is, so if I stumble, but it's just out of pure excitement. Next up, we have the single Voyager class figure in the Star Raider subline, and it is none other than Decepticon Ferak. Ferak is a retool and a repaint of Kingdom Cyclonus, and despite his mostly light gray paint job with his red face and red highlights making him have the blandest paint job out of the Star Raiders, he probably might arguably be the first use of the Kingdom Cyclonus mold that hopefully won't suffer yellow plastic from yellowing plastic. At least the first Decepticon version of this mold, but yeah, being the solitary Voyager class action figure, Ferak, I said a moment ago that Cannonball and Lockdown are the most hard to find Star Raider figures right now, but on the opposite end, Ferak being the only Voyager class figure, he's become the most easiest to find of the Star Raider figures. I believe he's sold, since he's an exclusive to Walmart stores, he's being sold in a case by himself, so that's why a lot of collectors have been able to find Ferak more easily than all the other Star Raider Transformers. But yeah, there's some artwork of his jet mode. Coming here on the side of the box, you got some artwork of his face and his robot mode. And on the back of the box, you got your product photos. Ferak transforms back and forth between robot mode and jet mode in 31 steps. So yeah, it's a pretty fantastic Transformers figure. The Kingdom Cyclonus mold was regarded as one of the best molds released in the Kingdom line back in 2021. And even though the original Kingdom Cyclonus figure has been prone to having his light gray parts yellow terribly, a lot of Transformers fans and collectors have said that the mold is still a pretty impressive one, and despite the retooled parts, Ferak falls into that category of being an impressive action figure in his own right, despite being mold mates with Cyclonus. Lastly, but definitely by no means least, we come to the leader class figure in this in the Star Raiders collection. And the reason why I'm using quotations when I say leader class is because the so-called leader class action figure of the Star Raiders is actually 3 different sized Transformers action figures sold in one box set. And the 3 figures sold in this box set are Voyager class Thundertron, the tiny little core class Nightstrike, which is mold mates with Titans Return Ratbat, and of course the figure I already reviewed in my Infernac Universe Rock Lords collection video, Calcitron, who's a deluxe class figure. I talked about Calcitron already in my Infernac Universe video, so I won't concentrate on him too much. I'm not even going to transform him into robot mode when I get the Star Raiders out of their boxes, but there's just a close-up of his face sculpt one more time. If you want to see more on Calcitron and what his robot mode looks like, then please watch my review of the Infernac Universe Rock Lords. When he was packaged here inside the box, Calcitron was placed right down there in the bottom corner, so that's where he was strapped inside this box set. But yeah, there's Thundertron along with Nightstrike. Nightstrike, even though he's a bat, he's meant to act like a parrot to Thundertron, and that's why Thundertron actually has 2 sculpted notches on the top of one of his shoulders, so Nightstrike and his mold mates can sit on his shoulder for him. But yeah, I said Cannonball was the original pirate captain of the Star Seekers, but the new captain is Thundertron. So I talked more in depth on Thundertron when I looked at his individually released Legacy United Voyager class action figure that was released earlier in the year than this one. The similarities I won't mention, because the differences are what everyone is gonna be the make it or break it deal with this leader class box set, and especially when it comes to having a second figure of Thundertron. But the primary differences are that, unlike the individually released Thundertron figure that was sold at mass retail, the Star Raider version of Thundertron, his paint job, the blue is a much lighter shade of blue on here, and that's designed to mimic his original Transformers Prime Voyager class action figure that was released back in 2012. And I believe Thundertron was the first Transformers character to actually be sold as a Star Seeker, a pirate faction, with the actual Star Raider / Star Seeker pirate logo being printed on his box. I thought Thundertron was a rogue Decepticon originally, since I wasn't into the stories of the pirates. Pirates and the Star Seekers, so that's one of the main reasons why I didn't buy the original Prime Thundertron action figure when it was released back in 2012. But some of the other but I don't regret passing on that figure, because now I have not one but two modern-day action figures with improved articulation and transformation. Some of the other differences between the Star Raider Thundertron and regular Thundertron is that he's lost his right hand and he's now replaced it with a hook, and one of his eyes is gone, so he's replaced it with a metal eye patch. So he also has the same gimmick of one of his lion mode feet being removed and giving him a peg leg. So Star Raider Thundertron looks even more like a stereotypical pirate, since he's lost a foot, a hand, and an eye, and it falls into the stereotype that movies and TV shows like to show, that pirates have lost their body parts after getting into fights. But yes, pretty it's basically a more accurate version of Thundertron's appearance on not only in the Transformers comic books, but a paint job that more closely resembles his original Transformers Prime action figure from 2012. So since Thundertron's the main action figure in this box set, he gets top billing here on the photographs on the back of the box. So you got Thundertron in his robot mode and his alt mode of a robotic lion. He transforms back and forth in 24 steps. Calcitron transforms back and forth in 12 steps, and Nightstrike being I believe he's I don't know if he has a new head sculpt or not, but since he's mold mates with Titans Return Ratbat, and he's basically one of the War for Cybertron trilogy cassette tapes for apes, that's what he has for an alt mode. He transforms back and forth between both modes in 4 steps, and even though technically Nightstrike's alt mode is still a cassette tape here for his Legacy United action figure, I believe it's supposed to be the a flag showing the not the Star Raider symbol, but the pirate skull that's also on painted on Cannonball. Also, there's technically two symbols for the Star Seekers / Star Raiders. You got the skull and the Cybertronian version of the skull and crossbones, and then you've got just the skull. All here on Nightstrike's alt mode. So pretty decent looking Transformers repaints. On that note, so far from what I've seen, the Leader Class Thundertron box set, technically it hasn't appeared on the shelves of Walmart stores yet, but it is still available for purchase on Walmart's website. Hopefully it'll appear soon in the coming weeks. As of this video's recording, it's the first weekend in November of 2024. There's only 2 months left in the year here, so it'll just be the luck of Transformers fans and collectors that Thundertron finally gets released on the shelves during Black Friday to welcome in the Christmas shopping season. Who knows when he'll appear here, but he is available out there. But for me personally, that's one, even though he actually hasn't appeared on the shelves of Walmart stores yet, the reason why I said earlier in the video that Lockdown and Cannonball have been the most hard to find is because for me personally, it was easier to find Thundertron than it was to find these two guys here. So yeah, overall, the Star Raiders are a pretty impressive looking Transformers group. Oops, so here's all 6 of them cluttering my table. There's no room for Ferak here in the back, but yeah, there they all are, standing beside each other, more or less. Yeah, so setting these boxes off to the side. That's all of these Star Raiders while they're still inside their boxes. So let's get them out of their boxes and take a close look at them in the modes that they're packaged in, which are their robot modes. Alright, and so here are the Star Raiders out of their boxes, transformed into the robot modes. Apologize, I couldn't quite get them all fit on camera. But yeah, they're all pretty impressive looking, and they all have nice little nods to past action figures of them. Lockdown, you can mimic the hook hand that his animated figure and both his Revenge of the Fallen figure both had with his armor pieces. He says Cannonball is the most interesting of them all accessory-wise, because he has the same sledgehammer and claw that the original Cybertron Red Alert and his original Cybertron action figures had. He also comes with the Cyber Key. Doesn't do anything, it just hangs there being ornamental, but it is a nice nod to the Cybertron line, and hopefully we'll get some more nods to that in the future. And one thing that people have pointed out is that you can actually store the sledgehammer and the claw in these spaces inside the lower legs, and that's a nod to the storage space that the original action figures had. So that's a really nice nod to the Cybertron action figures there. Filch is the only one who doesn't come with any handheld weapons because her accessory pieces are her wingtips. They're designed to be detached, and you attach them to her arms, and that mimics how she transformed in Robots in Disguise. In the Robots in Disguise cartoon, Una Road Pig comes with the exact same accessories that Crash Bar came packaged with, but it really is. But there's a nice nod to the Generation 2 line where he actually has the word Transformers printed onto one of his shins, so that's a nice nod there. Here to the fact that in the Generation 2 line, the phrase Robots in Disguise was completely thrown out and ignored, and the Generation 2 Transformers action figures had elaborate paint jobs that some of them even didn't even hesitate to show that were called Transformers. So yeah, nice nod to that. And like I said, I already did a closer look at Calcitron in my Ferak Universe Rock Lord, so that's why he's just hanging out here, transformed into his robot in his alt mode. And then of course here on the back we've got Ferak, who's a pretty nice looking repaint and retool of Cyclonus. The one on the new sculpted parts that he has are his wings, which allow these missile launchers or laser blasters, if you will, to be attached to his wingtips. You can detach them, and he can hold them in his hands, but he does come with the exact same laser gun that Cyclonus did. So it's up to you if you want to distinguish Ferak from Cyclonus by giving him dual laser pistols. And of course, Thundertron. On some of the new sculpted parts are his new face sculpt, in which he now has a metal eye patch. And it's over his right side eye, the same side of his body where he originally lost one of his feet, and he's now lost one of his hands and replaced it with a hook. And then of course you've got Nightstrike sitting up here on Thundertron's shoulder, acting like a pirate's parrot. So that's a pretty nice nod to pirates having a bird sitting on their shoulders. So yeah, all around a pretty great team, a really motley crew of space pirates traveling around the galaxy. Now I don't have any action figures out for size comparisons because they're all repaints and retools of previously figures, as I mentioned, so I didn't really feel the need to bring out any more Transformers for a size comparison. But yeah, overall they are a pretty great set of Transformers figures. Like I said, Thundertron's the new pirate captain of the Star Seekers. Cannonball was the original pirate in the first stories of comic books. So originally Cannonball founded the Star Seekers, and then in the more recent comics it was Thundertron who did and made the Star Seekers their own distinct faction of Transformers with their own faction symbol. They all have, I think they all have it on here. Thundertron's is on his, ends up on his back. Ferak's Star Raider symbol is here on, right above his left side elbow. Elbow right there. Cannonball's is on the center of his robot mode chest, which ends up being the hood of his vehicle mode. I'm looking over Lockdown to see if he has it, and I believe Lockdown, yeah, I don't think he actually has it. Instead, Lockdown is the only Star Raider that's actually a true Decepticon. So he's got a Decepticon logo on the center of his chest. I apologize for my camera blurring it out, but yeah, he's the only one who has a Decepticon logo on his chest. And I think I mentioned it in my Ferak Universe review, but Calcitron doesn't have any faction symbols on him, so make that what you will. Filch, her Star Seeker symbol, it's kind of hard to tell since it's black paint on purple plastic, but it's there on the shin of her left side leg. And Road Pig's, in my opinion, it ends up in the oddest place. It ends up here on the front of his left side foot. hood, which I believe becomes the headlight section for his motorcycle mode. Oh, but it's really nice to have it there. I wish they would have also given Rogue Pig the G2 Decepticon faction symbol, but considering the fact that they painted the word Transformers on one of his legs as a shout out to the Generation 2 line, I think that's a nice touch. Rogue Pig does, I believe, have... I don't know if he has the same head sculpt as Road Rocket, or if it's brand new, but he does have, I think it is the same head sculpt as Road Rocket. His head is made out of clear plastic, so he has the potential for light piping, but they painted over his face, so unless you have a really bright flashlight, you won't be able to light pipe Road Pig's head. So that's another nice nod to the Generation 2 line. Transformers Generation 2 was the line that introduced light piping to Transformers action figures. In more recent years, fewer and fewer Transformers figures have had light piping. Kingdom Cyclonus was one, but for Ferak, the light pipe plastic has been replaced with the same solid gray plastic that's used on his horns, his arms, and his upper legs. So it's been removed. But yeah, overall, like I said, I'm repeating myself at this point. I'm just excited to have all of the Star Raider Transformers figures here. So without further delay, let's get these guys transformed into their alt modes, and we will wrap up the review. Alright, and so here are all the Star Raiders transformed into their alt modes, and here also is Calcitron. And yeah, they're all pretty impressive looking. And I was totally wrong. They did give Rogue Pig the G2 Decepticon symbol. It's on the opposite side of the word Transformers, so he has decorations on his fuel tank, so that's pretty nice to see that he has the G2 Decepticon symbol on him. As far as being other factions besides the Star Seekers, the only ones are Rogue Pig, who's also a Generation 2 era Decepticon, Lockdown, who's a animated / G1 Decepticon, and then Calcitron is factionless like the other Star Raider Infernac Universe Rock Lord, so he doesn't have any faction symbols on him. The only ones that are true Star Seekers and are not also members of other factions of Transformers are Filch, Ferak, Nightstrike here, and there's these. You can see it's a bit of a stretch in the imagination in hand, but if you look right here with the white paint on him, these long things are like elongated eyeballs, and then the paint on the back of his head are supposed to be a jawbone, so he's got like an inverted skull all painted on him where it's black with white openings for the eyeballs, eye sockets. And then, of course, so the only Star Raiders that are true Star Seeker members are Filch, Ferak, Nightstrike, Cannonball, and of course Thundertron. So yeah, they're all pretty impressive looking. The ones that turn to vehicles roll really well. As far as mold degradation, there is unfortunately some slight mold degradation on my copy of Ferak, where his wingtips, as you can see, they want to, with very little effort, sag downward. So there is unfortunately some slight mold degradation on my copy of Ferak, but that's just my copy. Most copies of Ferak that I've seen reviews of, the wingtips are holding up, and he's still holding up pretty well. They did tighten up some of the joints on the scraphook mold. Oh, they're now on lockdown, such as when you transform the arms, they don't feel like they're going to pop out when you transform him. So out of the 4 uses of the scraphook mold that have been released, lockdown has been the easiest to transform for me. And as far as are any of these figures better versions than past uses of their molds, I honestly don't know if these guys are superior than past versions, but I definitely did enjoy transforming Cannonball, and of course here's the neon green skull motif. Eve here on his sides and on his roof. That's the way it was on the original Cybertron figure. And then of course there's the Cyber Key on the original Cyber Key figure. The same laser guns that ended up on the back shoulders would pop out of the sides here of the vehicle mode. That gimmick unfortunately has not been incorporated here on Cannonball. But it is nice to see an updated figure of him, and like I said, I really hope we get a figure of Cybertron Red Alert repainted from this figure. And another nice thing that they did is that on the original figure, right here at the center of the light bar sirens, that was actually the robot mode head sculpt on the original figure, so they tried to mimic the shape of that by making the center of the light bar look like Cannonball's head. So yeah, really nice nod to how the original figure transformed. And like I said, the main difference between the Star Raider version of Thundertron and his individually released version in Lion mode is that he has a brighter, his blue parts are a much brighter shade of blue, and his paint job is designed to more match up with his original Transformers Prime action figure. The Star Seekers and Star Raider pirates were originally going to be the antagonists of the fourth season of Transformers Prime, had Transformers Prime been renewed for a fourth season, but unfortunately Transformers Prime was cancelled after its third season, and unfortunately the debut, what would have been the television debut for the Star Seekers, it never happened. And so Thundertron, that's the main reason why Thundertron was given a figure in the Transformers Prime line, is that he was a preview of what would have been the Transformers battle against pirates in outer space. Whether that sounds cool to you or not is up to you to decide. One thing I will say about Filch is that I believe she is far superior than Airazor, because you can now rotate her head upward like this, and then you can rotate her feet back, and you can get her into a more standing position, like when she's resting on a flat surface and she's not flying, so it doesn't just look like a perched mode when she's transformed into her beast mode of a mechanical bird. So that's a really nice touch there. If I had to pick a favorite out of all these figures, or better yet, if I were to list all these figures from my most favorite to my least favorite, my most favorite figures are a three-way tie between Road Pig, Lockdown, and Cannonball. Then after that, Filch and Ferak are tied in being my second favorites, also with Nightstrike. Calcitron's a pretty good figure, but even though he's blue, which is my second favorite color after black, I still enjoy Magnius and Nucleus more than him, if I'm being honest. And so I do admit Lockdown is, I just call him Lockdown. Thundertron is my least favorite of the Star Raider figures, only because I enjoy the darker navy blue on his individually released action figure, and the newly sculpted parts from his robot mode, such as the hook hand and the eye patch on his head sculpt. They don't carry over to Lion mode. Even though it would have been a gruesome sight, I think carrying the eye patch over to Lion mode to show that he not only lost a robot eye but a beast mode eye, I think that would have been something to that would have been a sight to behold, pun intended. But yeah, so even though Thundertron's my least favorite, I still enjoy that he now has a paint job that matches up his original Transformers Prime action figure. So this has been my review of the entire Transformers Legacy United Star Raiders collection. I highly recommend getting all of these figures if you can find them all, and you have the budget to add them all to your Transformers collection. If you can't afford to get all of them, then unfortunately the Leader Class box set with Thundertron, Calcitron, and Nightstrike is an easy pass, as I highly recommend getting Ferak, even though, as I said, his light gray makes him have the dullest paint job out of all the Star Raiders. I definitely highly recommend getting him, even though on my copy the wingtips are suffering some slight mold degradation. It's still overall a pretty fantastic transformation. I love the design of the robot mode, and I love the design of the jet mode. Even with Ferak's newly sculpted nose cone, he's just as impressive as Kingdom Cyclonus is. I highly recommend getting him. Same thing with all three of the deluxe, all four of the deluxe figures. Filch this is I believe the first ever action figure we've gotten of her. If she did get an action figure in the original RD 2015 line, I apologize for not being aware, because I didn't pay attention too much to the Robots in Disguise 2015 series. But I do highly recommend getting Road Pig, Lockdown, and Cannonball. All three of them. Like I said, this is only the second action figure of Road Pig that's been released since his original Generation 2 action figure back in 1994. Lockdown for being a repaint of Axle Grease with a new head sculpt. He is a nice nod to past versions of him. And Cannonball is since he was originally a Unicron Trilogy Transformers character, and he was the first ever Star Seeker slash Star Raider pirate Transformers character created, then he is most definitely a must-have out of all 4 of the individually released Deluxe class figures. I highly recommend getting Cannonball. Also, yeah, I highly recommend getting all these figures if you can find them all. So thank you guys all so much. This has been the TFN Geek. This review's gone on longer than I wanted to, but I'm glad I was able to show you guys the entire collection of the Transformers Legacy United Star Raiders Pirates. So thank you guys all so much, and until next time, you guys, please remember to stay safe, stay healthy, transform, and roll out. Goodbye, everyone.